Welcome. The purpose of this video is to introduce the functional revisions, added toolbox features, and new model coverage that will appear in the SBDS June 94 release.
As you may know, SBDS monthly updates are now titled by month and year of release. For example, instead of having a revision number like 14.0, the update is now identified by the month of release. It will therefore be referred to as the June 94 disk.
We are now adding functional updates and other improvements directly to the monthly updates as they become available. The Service Bay Products newsletter will continue to keep you informed about new features and enhancements.
Among other enhancements, the June 94 revision will include a new software installation procedure, a high-speed half-page print option, and diagnostics and toolbox support for many new 95 model year vehicles. A toggle between engine off and engine running self-tests, an enhanced ignition system test with graph capability, and a revised parameter selection screen have all been added to the powertrain toolbox. The body, chassis, and electrical toolbox is now open with support for the Ford Windstar, and enhanced setup utilities will make SBDS even more convenient to use.
The March 94 update included a CD-ROM cleaning disk. The CD-ROM drive should be cleaned prior to any software installation. Let's review the cleaning process. Be sure to consult the instructions included with the cleaning disk if you are unsure about any part of the process. SBDS should be at the main menu with the CD drive empty and its light off. Insert the carrier with the cleaning CD into the empty CD drive. Remove the carrier, leaving the CD in the drive. Let the CD stay in the drive for 10 seconds after the drive light turns on. Then insert the empty carrier into the drive. Make sure the correct side is up. Remove the carrier from the drive and the CD should come with it. Store the entire cleaning unit in the reusable bag to keep it clean for the next time. Weekly cleaning is recommended for best CD-ROM operation. Now that the drive has been cleaned, let's move on to the new software installation process. To install the June 94 release, begin by properly shutting down the SBDS cart. First, install the June 94 installation diskette into the floppy drive. Then remove the May 94 CD from the CD drive and insert the June 94 disk. Turn on power to SBDS with both the floppy diskette and the CD disk in place. After about 4 minutes, SBDS will prompt you to press the Enter key. This initiates the installation process, and SBDS displays a bar graph indicating % of completion. After a little over an hour, SBDS will notify you that the installation is complete, and the cart should be rebooted. You will also notice a somewhat different boot-up procedure. The Press U key to install new software screen will no longer appear, and the Turn PVA on now prompt has been removed. So remember, be sure to turn on the PVA once the main menu is displayed on the screen. Once the June 94 release has been loaded, monthly updates will be installed by using a utility accessed through the Miscellaneous module. Touching the Miscellaneous button from the main menu screen, then selecting the New Utilities function gets us to this Utilities menu. Touching Install Software brings us to the Software Installation screen. Simply follow the instructions on this screen to load new software. From here, SBDS will continue to prompt you through the remainder of the installation process. Now that we've loaded the June 94 software, let's look at some of the new features that come with this release. We have already looked at one function found through the Utilities button, installing new software. Touching the Change Time and Date button brings us to this setup screen. We can use these scroll boxes if the time and date displayed by SBDS needs to be corrected. Touching the Change Oasis Parameters button brings us to this OASIS setup screen. This screen can be used to easily update OASIS dial-up parameters. Now let's take a look at the new high-speed half-page screen print option now available on SBDS. Touching the Help button from any screen will bring us this expanded Help menu. Touching the Printer Setup button brings us to this Setup option screen. If we select Reduce Screen Print and exit the Setup screen, all screen printouts made from here on will be half-size, and a second sheet of paper will not be form-fed following the printout. To return to standard size screen printing, simply select the Printer Setup option from the Help menu. Select Standard Screen Print, and printing will return to normal. Bear in mind that this print option reduces screen prints only and does not affect the printing of documents or the log file. Now let's go back to the main menu and select Information. Transmission charts, technical service bulletins, calibrations, the user's guide, and recalls and owner notifications will still be available from the SBDS system disk. However, as a result of the steadily increasing model year coverage available on SBDS, accessing EVTMs in the PCED manual for 1993 and later model year cars and trucks will require removing the system disk and inserting one of several additional information disks that will be included with the June 94 release. When prompted by SBDS, simply remove the system disk and insert the information disk requested by SBDS. When you are done using information, be sure to replace the system disk. Before moving on to the toolbox features, let's take a look at the VIN entry screen. Selecting past VINs brings us the familiar vehicle selection scroll box. However, as we scroll to different VINs, note that the vehicle information corresponding to the highlighted VIN is now displayed in the upper left corner of the screen. This information will make it easier to locate and reactivate vehicles previously entered into SBDS. While we're in the selection screen, let's select View Log and look at the log file. Note that any information not required for diagnostic work has been removed, resulting in a neater, easier to read, and more usable file. For the most part, the enhancements we have just demonstrated here were driven by feedback from SBDS users like yourself. Please continue to make the Service Bay product staff aware of your needs, and we will keep working to meet them.
The March 94 and April 94 monthly updates added diagnostics and powertrain toolbox coverage for the 1995 Ford Contour and Mercury Mystique, the 3.8-liter Ford Windstar, and the 5-liter Mustang Cobra. The June 94 release and the following 2 monthly updates will bring coverage for the 3-liter Windstar, the 95 Lincoln Town Car, the 95 Crown Victoria and Grand Marquis, and the 2.3-liter, 3-liter, and 4-liter Ford Ranger pickup. Powertrain toolbox coverage will also be added for the 7.3-liter direct-injected diesel engine and the 3-liter flex fuel engine found in the Ford Taurus. The June 94 release will also bring some functional enhancements to the powertrain toolbox. Let's take a look at the self-test first, where we have a new toggle feature. From the powertrain toolbox, we'll select Key On Engine Off Self-Test and continue. SBDS will lead us through the usual hookup screen, and Continue initiates the self-test. When the self-test is complete, SBDS will display trouble codes and descriptions as usual. Now, however, touching the KOER button will immediately initiate a Key On Engine Running self-test, without the need to return to the toolbox menu. When the Key On Engine Running self-test is complete, touching the KOEO button will immediately initiate another Key On Engine Off self-test. again bypassing the toolbox menu. This toggle feature will make it more convenient to retrieve continuous and on-demand diagnostic trouble codes using SBDS. Returning to the powertrain toolbox, let's look at the electronic ignition system test. After the usual hookup screen, SBDS will perform the harness test. Touching Continue from here and continuing through the second hookup screen brings us to the EDIS system test. This screen displays the input and output states of the ignition control module. If SBDS detects a fault, the outlines surrounding the faulted parameter will turn from green to red. If further faults are detected, the outlines around those additional parameters will turn black. An intermittent fault is indicated by a flashing red diamond or an arrow. An upward pointing arrow indicates high voltage, while a downward pointing arrow indicates low voltage. If beep is selected, SBDS will emit an audible tone whenever a fault is detected. Touching reset will clear the fault indicators. They will remain clear until SBDS detects another fault. Selecting capture will record the last 10 seconds of data for playback. Capture can also be selected from the pendant. Selecting auto capture will allow SBDS to automatically capture data as soon as a fault is detected. SBDS will record 5 seconds before the fault is first detected and 5 seconds after. Once a recording has been made, we can either touch reset and make another recording, or touch playback to view the recording. Here we see the familiar playback screen. We can view the events over time, select pinpoint for diagnostics, or select retest to make another recording. Returning to the system test screen and selecting engine running brings us to the key on engine running system test. As you can see, the same functions that were available during the key on engine off portion are available here. We'll select auto capture. When a fault occurs, SBDS will automatically capture the event. Selecting playback brings us to the playback screen. The usual time bar appears at the bottom of the screen, and spark duration and power balance recordings can also be called up from this screen. Selecting graph brings us to this new ignition system playback graph. It conveniently displays digital and analog ignition system related parameters. We can highlight, zoom in and out, and rescale, just like any other type of SBDS graph. These enhancements to the ignition system test have been designed to increase the effectiveness of SBDS at solving tough ignition system concerns. While we're in Powertrain Toolbox, let's look at the revised parameter selection screens. We'll use DCL display as an example, but remember that the revised selection screens will be found in all DCL and 60-pin display and recording tools. After the familiar hookup screen, we make our display selection and come to the revised parameter selection screen. Note that the selected digital, analog, and time-stamped parameters are no longer color-coded, and that a selections remaining indicator no longer appears. If too many parameters of any type are selected, SBDS will highlight all selections in yellow and red and instruct you to deselect one or more parameters until the highlights disappear. You will also note some new parameters have become available, particularly on EEC5 vehicles, the Flex Fuel Taurus, and the 7.3-liter DI diesel engine. Use glossary or pinpoint to obtain information about these new parameters. On the June 94 disc, we'll see the first applications of the body, chassis, and electrical toolbox. Let's see how it works. We've already entered the vehicle identification number for this 1995 Windstar, so we touch Continue. Now we can see the various categories in the BCE Toolbox menu. Let's stop at Testers and Meters. These are the same instruments that are available in the Powertrain Toolbox. Although there are no recorder functions in the BCE Toolbox at this time, these utilities are accessible from this screen to enable you to pull up previous powertrain files. This charging system test uses the same procedure we've used since 12.0. We can now access it in BCE Toolbox as well as from Powertrain Toolbox. In the anti-lock brake category, we have self-test and system description available. Let's look at self-test. Here are hookup instructions. We connect to the same J1962 data link connector that we use for powertrain tests and follow some simple instructions. Fault codes will be displayed in the code menu, and a code description is also provided. The pinpoint button will access possible causes. Let's look at system description. This is the system description list. Let's select functional description. And here we have an explanation of the ABS system operation. Backup will return us to the list. Inputs and outputs provides connector pin numbers and signal details. Let's look at schematic, which gives us easy access to a complete system schematic. The system description in each one of the body, chassis, and electrical toolbox categories will follow the same format of inputs and outputs, functional description, and schematic.
The remainder of the categories in the body chassis electrical toolbox are controlled by the GEM, or Generic Electronic Module. Let's scroll to Generic Electronic Module Self-Test and touch Continue. This selection will initiate a self-test on all the vehicle systems controlled by the GEM. These connections will access all the GEM functions. We'll use the buttons on this screen to tell SBDS about optional equipment on the vehicle we're testing, and then Continue. While under test, GEM will operate all vehicle systems under its control. The GEM self-test indicates problems in the door and wiper systems, and Pinpoint lists possible causes for the listed codes. Now let's run self-test on a specific system like wiper washer with the same problem still in the vehicle. During the wiper washer test, GEM still operates all the systems under its control, but only reports codes for the system under test. We'll select DCL display and look at table. It's a typical parameter select screen. Let's pick all in each group. And we have a live display of wiper washer parameters. If the wiper switch is turned on, we can see the results like switch position indication, wipe time, and run relay. We can capture from the screen button or from the pendant. Capture gives us approximately 10 seconds of playback time. Pinpoint will describe the various parameters. Now we'll navigate back to BCE Toolbox menu and select Function Test. When the wiper switch is turned on in the vehicle, we can see the results here. Or we can toggle the wiper on here from the screen button. If we operate from the toggle buttons, the normal vehicle switch inputs are disabled. GEM can sense a wiring malfunction, which is indicated by the red border for washer pump relay. An intermittent condition is indicated by the flashing red diamond. Pinpoint will provide possible causes for malfunctions indicated. Wiggle test takes us to this screen. If we encounter a fault, the status will change. The GEM module in the vehicle will beep, and the SBDS pendant will also beep. Let's touch and test. And SBDS gives us codes which were set during the wiggle test. If we touch retest or menu, these codes will be cleared automatically. And if we look at system description, we see the same categories that we looked at previously. Each category that is controlled by GEM, wiper washer, warning lamps and chime system, rear window defrost, power windows, power door locks, interior courtesy lamps system, and illuminated entry system, has the same instruments and procedures that we just described for the wiper washer system.
SBDS will continue to provide us with the information and tools necessary to service these systems in the most expedient manner available.
Please continue to supply us with your comments, suggestions, and success stories.
The Support Center at 1-800-654-4777 is always available to help with SBDS or vehicle concerns.
See you next time.